Now, when it comes to reviewing cars for me, I like to approach it from the angle of the average consumer and what they would like to know about a particular car. But once in a while, I get something where I'll have to get a little bit technical about the performance and the tech. And today, I'm driving the 2020 Civic Type R. And while you can get a little technical, the easiest way to sum up my feelings about this car is that it's freaking awesome. Now, this is in fact my first experience with the Civic Type R, and I have to say it's much, much better than I expected. So let me give you a quick tour, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think about this crazy hot hatch. But before I do, make sure you hit subscribe so I can bring you more reviews of cars in this crazy boost blue color. Let's do this. As always, let's kick it off by taking a look at some of the cool and some of the interesting things about the 2020 Honda Civic Type R. Obviously, let's kick it off by listening to the exhaust sound. Now, when the Honda Civic Type R first came out, it was known for not having a very aggressive exhaust sound, and that's still the case. There's no snap, crackle, and pop. Let's take a listen. Now, it's not all bad news when it comes to the sound, because Honda did increase the acoustics inside the car by pumping fake engine sound through the speakers. And when you're in plus R mode, let's hop into that really quick. It sounds pretty nice in here. A little bit beefier than sport and comfort. Let's hear it in comfort. Now, moving on, one of the coolest things about the 2020 Honda Civic Type R is something that I can't show you, and it's called the Honda Log R data logging app, which is available on iOS and Android, and you can view it through Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Alright, so what you're looking at here is just some press footage provided by Honda, and as you can see, the app will let you monitor your performance, log lap times on the track, and some other cool features. Now, the app was supposed to be out in spring 2020, but there have been some delays, obviously, and Honda tells me that it'll be out sometime later this year. No official date. Now, keep in mind, the app is exclusive to the 2020 Civic Type R, so you can't use it on the 2019, 2018, or 2017, so that kind of sucks. Now, let's talk about how much the Civic Type R will cost you. The 2020 Civic Type R starts at $36,995. There aren't any packages or options besides a bunch of accessories that you can add on. So everything that you see here is standard with the Civic Type R 2020 model year. Now let's get into the power and performance of this thing. The Honda Civic Type R is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo engine, making 306 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, and it's only available with a 6-speed manual transmission. So if you don't know how to drive manual, learn, because it's really fun. Believe me when I tell you that this engine is spectacular. Honestly, the smooth power delivery of this thing is so satisfying when you're really pushing it hard. The acceleration of the Civic Type R is really nice, really blistering fast. I was able to hit 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds or 5.3 seconds. Other people have hit it in 5 seconds flat, and that's pretty much on par with the Golf R, the Veloster N, and the WRX STI. Now, when it comes to living with the Civic Type R on a daily basis, this thing is surprisingly very comfortable, especially when you have it in comfort mode. Anytime you start the Civic Type R, it'll default into sport mode first, and then from there you can pop it into comfort mode if you're going for a nice cruise, or you can pop it into plus R mode if you're going on the track or you want to be a little bit rebellious on the road. Now, if you're buying a Civic Type R and you're worried about fuel economy, it's not that bad actually. You get 22 city, 28 highway, and you have a 12.4 gallon tank capacity. I'm averaging, after a couple days of driving, a total of 24.5 miles a gallon. Not terrible at all. Now let's talk about the exterior design for a second, because to some this thing looks outstanding and to others this thing is overstyled like no tomorrow. Let me know in the comments what you think, but let's talk about this. So what's my opinion about the design? Personally, I think it looks really cool. Look, if I'm paying this much for a Civic, I want people to know that it's downright a special Civic. A lot of people are really upset about the giant spoiler or the double spoiler, but the Civic Type R has always had giant spoilers, and this one just carries on that tradition. Yes, you do have a double spoiler. You have this one right here, then an obscenely large one on top of that, and then you have what Honda calls vortex generators, and that's supposed to help you with some downforce. Now, I don't know how much downforce you really need in the Civic Type R, but to me, it looks cool and lets people know that I'm in my mid-30s, trying to feel like I'm 18 or 19. On the front, the story is a little different. There are reasons why it looks so aggressive on the front, so you have a lot of vents and openings to cool the engine. You have a front-mounted intercooler right here, and the air intake is located right below the blade right there. You also have a hood scoop, and all that helps cool the engine. This section right here actually provides an air curtain over the side of the wheels for better airflow. You might think it's for cooling the brakes, but the brake cooling is taking care of cooling ducts right under the fog lights right here. So what's new for the 2020 model year? Not much. You really have to look close to see the differences between the last few years of the Civic Type R and the 2020 model year. The easiest way to tell them apart is to look at the fake front intake or this black mesh area in the back. In the last few model years, These were just giant black pieces, but now they've broken up the design with a little body colored trim. But an easier way to tell the 2020 model year apart from the last few model years is if you see one in the Smurf looking color called Boost Blue. This color is exclusive for the 2020 Civic Type R, so anybody who got it from 2019, 2018, 2017 won't have this color. Yes, the Civic Type R is definitely one of the most outrageous looking hot hatches out there, and it is a sports car, but it is pretty practical. Pop the trunk and you're welcomed to about 26 cubic feet behind the second row, and with the second row folded you get 46 cubic feet, so it's pretty practical. Let's hop inside the 2020 Civic Type R, and you'll notice not much has changed at all besides a few things, so let's talk about them. You still have the beefy sports seats that actually look pretty uncomfortable, but they're very, very comfortable. They're one of the most comfortable racing seats I've ever been in. Now moving on, you still have the red and black theme all over the inside, but there are a few new additions for 2020, so let me show you what they are. First up, you have a new shift knob that is actually lighter and is really a throwback to the 97 Civic Type R. Type R engineers actually settled on this design after messing around with 10 different designs for appearance, ease of use, and how the knob fits in the hand. So thank you, Honda engineers. This one feels really nice. You also have a new steering wheel wrapped in Alcantara, although I prefer the leather one. And then finally, are you ready? You have an actual volume knob. Honda has finally gotten rid of that annoying touchscreen volume control, and now it's a simple knob that you could just spin. Also for 2020, the Civic Type R gets Honda's Sensing Suite of Safety Tech as standard, and that means you get collision mitigation braking, road departure mitigation, lane keep assist, along with adaptive cruise control. Other than that, it's pretty much the same Civic Type R from the last few model years. The infotainment is still the same, no major improvements, but you'll probably end up using Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which are standard by the way, and nothing major to complain about except the fact that it's kind of slow, kind of glitchy. I just end up using Apple CarPlay, so I'm not going to complain too much. Although I do wish that Honda would upgrade the gauge cluster display. It is partially digital, but I wish it looked similar to the ones that you see on the new Honda Accords. This one here is just kind of simple. Overall, the interior of the Civic Type R is not a bad place to be at all. I'm still impressed about how comfortable the seats are and how practical this thing is overall. And finally, let's discuss the rear legroom. It is pretty nice. You get about 36 inches of rear legroom. I'm about 6 foot tall. That's my seating position. As you can see, still have plenty of room. You can sit behind the passenger, still have plenty of room. Now, before I get into giving you my opinion on how it is to drive the Civic Type R, let me point out a few random things that I love to show you guys. You have 2 cup holders in the front and 2 cup holders in the back. That means you only have 2 seats, so you have 2 cup holders right here in the center. Pretty nice. And here is how the door open and close sounds on the Civic Type R from the outside and from the inside. Pretty solid. These are what the Honda Civic Type R keys look like. As you can see, they also have that red Honda badging. You have lock, unlock, trunk, and your panic. And if you're wondering why there's no remote start on this remote right here, you probably shouldn't buy a manual car. And finally, let's hear how the horn sounds on the 2020 Civic Type R on this 306 horsepower car. Still pretty Civic. Oh man. Now that I've given you a tour of the 2020 Civic Type R, let me give you my opinion on what I think about this Smurf colored Civic with a giant wing. Let's get to it. Now, as I said earlier, I'm simply blown away by the Civic Type R. This thing is very comfortable. It's a practical daily driver that will let you get crazy when you really want to. It does the practicality thing so well. There's a lot of room for cargo, good amount of rear legroom, and in comfort mode, you can just cruise along and relax. But pop this thing into R mode and things get a little bit more exciting. There's fake noise pumped into the cabin, the steering wheel gets a little bit tighter, and acceleration is just much, much better. There are a lot of sports cars out there that struggle with finding the balance between being a practical and comfortable daily driver and being a crazy fun sports car, but the Civic Type R has definitely done it. For the 2020 model year, the Civic Type R does receive a few enhancements, including retuned bushings, revised dampers, a sharper steering, but forget all that. Honestly, just get in one and drive it to experience what I'm talking about here, because if you do, you'll have a lot of fun. Either way, thanks for hanging out with me today. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Omar Drives. You can also follow me on TikTok at Omar Drives, if that's still alive. I'll see you next week. Take care. Peace. Oh look, there's 2 Civics in front of me. Civic trade. Oh man, I love this car.